So we have this preaching rotation, and last couple of weeks have been different because we were over at another church, and then last week we had the pageant, and so we said, well, what can we do to end the year? We said, well, we'll all four be up here. So, as usual, we're trying something new.
Safety in numbers.
We never get tired of trying something new. So what we're talking about today is the light of the world. And as anyone who's heard my children's sermons will tell you, the answer to that is Jesus. But it's a little bit more complicated than that, because it starts in the Old Testament. I want to say just two words about light and darkness. Light, as you'll probably guess, is a good thing. All through the Bible, light is a good thing. Darkness is generally a bad thing. But there's a passage that doesn't have light in it, but has dark in it. And just to give us a sense of how dark the dark is. On this mountain the Lord of hosts will make for all peoples a feast of rich food, a feast of well-aged wines, of rich food filled with marrow, of well-aged wines strained clear. This is the Lord saving us. This is in Isaiah 25. And he will destroy on this mountain the shroud that is cast over all the peoples, the sheet that is spread over all nations. He will swallow up death forever. That doesn't sound so awful when you think about like a bed sheet kind of spread over. But the words that are used here actually refer to either molten metal or woven fabric. And if you think of the image of a nation, of a group of people, and poured over them is molten metal holding them down, smothering them. That's the darkness that we're talking about, the light being up against. So we're going to begin in Isaiah. We divided this up by areas in the Bible. I got Isaiah. So I'm going to begin in Isaiah chapter 2, verse 2. In the days to come, the mount of the Lord's house shall stand firm above the mountains and tower above the hills. And all the nations shall gaze on it with joy, and the many peoples shall go and say, Come, let us go up to the mount of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, that he may instruct us in his ways, and that we may walk in his paths. For instruction shall come forth from Zion, the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. Thus he will judge among the nations, and arbitrate for the many peoples. And they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not take up sword against nation. They shall never again know war. And this is more than just countries not warring, because we all know human nature isn't that easy. This is that God will arbitrate. God will be there for discussion as opposed to having a war about things. Verse 5 reads, O house of Jacob, come, let us walk by the light of the Lord. And this is an invitation for us to live in the way that God has decreed, live in the laws that God has given us. To come and walk in the light of the Lord, the light of God. In chapter 9, the people that walked in darkness have seen a brilliant light. On those who dwelt in a land of gloom, light has dawned. You have magnified that nation, have given it great joy. They have rejoiced before you. And then skipping down to verse 5, For a child has been born to us, a son has been given us, and authority has settled on his shoulders. He has been named, The Mighty God is planning grace, the Eternal Father, a peaceable ruler. In token of abundant authority and of peace without limit, upon David's throne and kingdom, that it may be firmly established in justice and in equity, now and evermore. The zeal of the Lord of hosts shall bring this to pass. One of the strange things about Isaiah as a prophet is that you never know whether he's talking about past or future. There's a thing they refer to as the prophetic past. It's written in a grammatically past tense, but it's actually a prediction of the future. And so there's lots of arguments between scholars about, is this referring to some lull between wars when they thought they were finally going to have peace, or is this actually a prophecy? But I know that as Christians we take this as a prophecy for the coming of Jesus, the coming of our salvation, the coming of the light to the world. chapter 42. Chapter 42, the focus kind of changes from God is the light to us being a people. First, the people of Israel, and then later us in the New Testament. This is my servant whom I uphold, my chosen one, in whom I delight. I have put my spirit upon him. He shall teach the true way to the nations. He shall not cry out or shout aloud or make his voice heard in the streets. He shall not break even a bruised reed or snuff out even a dim wick. He shall bring forth the true way. He shall not grow dim or be bruised till he has established the true way on earth. And the coastlands shall await his teaching. The coastlands is kind of like, so everybody, clear out to the coasts. Thus said God the Lord, who created the heavens and stretched them out, who spread out the earth and what it brings forth, who gave breath to the people upon it, and life to those who walk thereon. This is the God of Genesis, the God of all creation. I, the Lord, in my grace have summoned you, and I have grasped you by the hand. I have created you and appointed you, a covenant people, a light of nations, opening eyes deprived of light, rescuing prisoners from confinement, from the dungeon those who sit in darkness. I am the Lord, that is my name. I will not yield my glory to another, nor my renown to idols. See, the things once predicted have come, and now I foretell new things, announced to you ere they sprout up. Sing to the Lord a new song. And finally, in chapter 58. In chapter 58, it becomes clear that not only are we expected to be the light of God, in the earlier passages in Isaiah, the people of God were the light of the world because simply by God saving them, their salvation through God was what showed other people in the world that God was true, that God was faithful, that God was loving, that God saved them. That was the big thing that showed people this was a God to believe in. But further along, there becomes another image, which is that the people of God need to be the people of God. Otherwise, the light doesn't really shine. So there's a passage here very much like the one in Micah and other prophets where they say, y'all are doing things really badly. And at verse 6 it picks up with, no, this is the fast I desire. Not all this other stuff you guys are doing. To unlock fetters of wickedness and untie the cords of lawlessness. To let the oppressed go free. To break off every yoke. It is to share your bread with the hungry and to take the poor, wretched poor into your home. When you see the naked, to clothe him and not to ignore your own kin. Then shall your light burst through like the dawn, and your healing spring up quickly. Your vindicator shall march before you. The presence of the Lord shall be your rear guard. Then, when you call, the Lord will answer. When you cry, he will say, here I am. If you banish lawlessness from your midst, the menacing hand and evil speech, and you offer your compassion to the hungry and satisfy the famished creature, then shall your light shine in darkness, and your gloom shall be like noonday. The Lord will guide you always. He'll slake your thirst in parched places, and give strength to your bones. You shall be like a watered garden, like a spring whose waters do not fail. Men from your midst shall rebuild ancient ruins. You shall restore foundations laid long ago, and you shall be called repairer of fallen walls, restorer of lanes for habitation. If you refrain from trampling the Sabbath, from pursuing your affairs on my holy day, if you call the Sabbath delight, the Lord's holy day honored, and if you honor it and go not your ways, nor look to your affairs, nor strike bargains, then you can seek the favor of the Lord. I will set you astride the heights of the earth, and let you enjoy the heritage of your father Jacob. for the mouth of the Lord has spoken. And the way that we show when we are walking with God, when we are doing the right things, the way that we show that light is by doing the things that God has asked, of feeding the hungry and taking care of the poor. Tag in it.
So I am taking the theme of light of the world out of the book of Psalms. That was what was assigned to me. So I selected it.
He selected it. I was going to say, that wasn't assigned.
It was, that's right. Bless the Lord, O my soul. O Lord my God, you are very great. You are clothed with honor and majesty, wrapped in light as with a garment. You stretch out the heavens like a tent. You set the beams of your chambers on the waters. You make the clouds your chariot. You ride on the wings of the wind. You make the winds your messengers. Fire and flame your ministers. You set the earth on its foundations so that it shall never be shaken. You cover it with the deep as with a garment. The waters stood above the mountains. At your rebuke they flee. At the sound of your thunder they take to flight. They rose up to the mountains, ran down the valleys, to the place that you appointed for them. You set a boundary that they may not pass, so that they may not again cover the earth. You make springs gush forth in the valleys. They flow between the hills, giving drink to every animal. The wild asses quench their thirst. By the streams, the birds of the air have their habitation. They sing among the branches. From your lofty abode, you water the mountains. The earth is satisfied with the fruit of your work. You cause the grass to grow for the cattle, and plants for people to use, to bring forth food from the earth and wine to gladden the human heart. Oil to make the face shine, and bread to strengthen the human heart. The trees of the Lord are watered abundantly, the cedars of Lebanon that he planted. In them the birds build their nests. The stork has its home in the fir trees. The high mountains are for the wild goats. The rocks are a refuge for the conies. You have made the moon to mark the seasons. The sun knows its time for setting. You make darkness, and it is night, when all the animals of the forest come creeping out. The young lions roar for their prey, seeking their food from God. When the sun rises, they withdraw and lie down in their dens. People go out to their work and to their labor until the evening. O Lord, how manifold are your works. In wisdom you have made them all. The earth is full of your creatures. Yonder is a sea great and wide. Creeping things innumerable are there. Living things both small and great. There go the ships and Leviathan that you formed to sport in it. These all look to you to give them their food in due season. When you give to them, they gather it up. When you open your hand, they are filled with good things. When you hide your face, they are dismayed. When you take away their breath, they die and return to their dust. When you send forth your spirit, they are created, and you renew the face of the ground. May the glory of the Lord endure forever. May the Lord rejoice in his works, who looks on the earth and it trembles, who touches the mountains and they smoke. I will sing to the Lord as long as I live. I will sing praise to my God while I have being. May my meditation be pleasing to him, for I rejoice in the Lord. Let sinners be consumed from the earth, and let the wicked be no more. Bless the Lord, O my soul. Praise the Lord. That is Psalm 104. Psalm 104 is one of the four psalms that are written in response to the creation. So you were talking about the Genesis God. This is exactly the same God that this psalm was written for. So continuing the theme of light, and we are safe in the knowledge that light illumines the dark and the unknown. We take and find solace in the Psalms as they cover a great many situations. Our very own denomination put out an application on social media, on your phones or on your tablets, for daily prayer. And in that app is a daily psalm which you can read from. And it's not an entire psalm, it's portions of it, so it takes a while to get through them all. Right? Psalms are used as methods of praise, prayer, affirmation, wisdom. They're songs of thanksgiving, liturgy, and poems is how all these psalms can be broken out. Because of this, the psalms are used in day-to-day living. There's basically a psalm for any occasion in your life. As light allows us to do much, David has allowed psalmists their light. So a good portion of the psalms are attributed to David having authored them. But we know that David didn't author all the psalms in our Bible. So one of the commentaries that I read offered a really small but very appropriate comment, because it's commentary, right? And the comment was, David wrote and inspired others to write theirs. So we walk in the same light from these psalms, whether it be from David or somebody else, but that light has been shared with us, and we are to turn around and share it ourselves.
Well, I have the wonderful selection of the Gospels. There were 35 passages. It won't take too long to read them. But I now give you leave because I'm only going to choose 2. And they are short readings and very short statements. It's like you're driving down a highway at 87,000 miles an hour. And there's a little town on the right-hand side. And if you blink, you'll miss it. So be prepared or you'll miss this. Coming from the Gospel of John, chapter 8, verse 12. Again, Jesus spoke to them, saying, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. Darkness is the evil in the world. The metaphor is complete with Jesus identifying himself as the light. In today's world, we easily recognize the symbolism and the meaning. But 2,000 years ago, inside a world where making such bold statements was considered blasphemous, a person could lose his life making such claims. Second verse, Luke 11, chapter 11, verses 34 to 35. Your eye is the lamp of your body. If your eye is healthy, your whole body is full of light. But if it is not healthy, your body is full of darkness. Therefore consider whether the light in you is not darkness. A focus on this passage implies an action on your part, that your body might be full of light. The reference is not whether or not your eye is actually healthy. Look around, and what do you see? See a room full of Christians. A whole bunch of Christians. But what do you see after you leave here? The implied action is to focus on the light. Then as you focus on your light, then your eye is healthy. But the action is to make sure that you know what you're looking at. If you go and look at the wrong things, then you may well be looking into the darkness, and you may well get lost in the darkness. And if you get lost in the darkness, you may not ever come out of it. So your eye is healthy by virtue of where you focus your eyes and where you're looking and what you're focusing on.
Come on now. All right now.
All right?
All right.
Tag it.
Come on, Charlie.
I chose the Epistles from Acts
to Revelation. There are 20 verses that mention light, and the majority of these letters were written by Paul as he traveled to spread the word, to build churches. And I chose also two scriptures, both fairly short. 1 John 1:5 is, "This is the message we have heard from him and proclaim to you, that God is light, and in him there is no darkness at all." And 1 Peter 2:9, "But you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's own people, in order that you may proclaim the mighty acts of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light." Excuse me. These verses are a help to us as followers of Jesus. When we read, when we study, when we pray, we're given the tools with which to turn to the light. So, as people of light, as children of God, what are our responsibilities? What are we supposed to, what mantle do we take on as we leave this place? It's food for thought. And that we know from our foundation, from Genesis to the Gospels, that our Lord is pure, and that we are to live our lives in a way that honors our Lord, that we are to take care of the hungry, the sick, prisoners. We are to expend our time and our talents and our resources in helping the least of these. That in Revelation Christ will say, I was hungry and you gave me drink, I was food, I was poor, you gave me clothes, I was naked, I was in prison, you visited me. These are all things that we, as children of light, need to intentionally make part of our daily lives and activities. Without going into a lot of personal detail, can you think of a time where light has overcome some darkness within you? A time in your life where evil just stopped. Perhaps the light came and drove the evil away. And how has the light changed you? Personally, I think that it's making me a better human. But I'm still a work in progress. So how can we reflect this light of Christ in the week ahead? Can we use our love and our attention to be aware that there are people out there who don't know the Lord, that have a need, that need just a smile? And I asked, do you think anyone will notice? Will anyone notice in your efforts? So I think that we should be exaggerated in giving this attention to others. It should be overflowing. It should be Christ-led, putting Jesus between you and whoever you encounter. But this this will make us children of the light, and we will glow. God is good.
All the time.
All the time.
God is good.
I'm reminded of a story that I heard in seminary. There was a class where one of the requirements for the class was that you wear a clerical collar every time you left your place. Every time you left your home, you had to have a shirt with a clerical collar on. I didn't take this class. I had friends who did. There was an apocryphal story about somebody who had taken the class in years before and was driving around, which means they were out of their home, which means they were in their clerical collar, and somebody cut them off in traffic, and they went like this! And that was the reminder to everybody that when you're wearing that collar, you stand out like a sore thumb. And people do see you when they see what you model as life. People who wear crosses, we wear crosses now as jewelry. It's just
Fashion statements.
yeah, it's just yeah, exactly. It's a fashion statement, exactly. Yeah, but people see a cross on you. They may just look at it and see jewelry, but they may see it as you're one of them. And what we show to people is very much what they will remember. We can't shine as God saved people if we don't act like God saved people. The church, is that the song we sang when we were little? This little light of mine. This little light of mine will shine, but it'll give off a lot of soot if we're disobedient. Exactly is the right word. The word in Hebrew between listen and obey is very, very close. And I think there's actually a corollary in Latin or something, the roots of those words. To hear is one thing, but to obey is the point.
Yes.
God is good.
All
the time.
All the time.
God is good.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm not going to toot my own horn or anything, but today that happened. I was caught a ray of sunshine.
You're caught what?
I was caught a ray of sunshine.
Oh, good.
Thought you were going to tell us you
One of the
cut somebody off.
housekeepers said, "Oh, you're always smiling." And the front desk manager said, "Oh, she's a new little ray of sunshine. She's always like that."
That's good for you.
Yeah.
That's good.
Good witness.
Nice one.
And they said it nice. They said it nicely, not like, oh,
No.
she's just smiling all the
No.
time.
She was like, "No."
That's good.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and answer one of Beth's questions. And I'm going to follow you up. And so if you still want the
No.
God is good.
to follow Linda, and to follow what Linda said, we can reflect the light by greeting everyone with a smile and parting with a blessing from God. And closing on my side here, I guarantee, if you look into the eyes of any person with your healthy eyes and a huge smile, and you speak of the light in your life, and then part with the blessing of God to them, then all whom you meet will notice it, and it will make a difference in both of your lives.
Amen.
Okay?
Here.
Okay, Bob, your turn.
I got nothing. Yeah.
God is good.
All the time.
All the time.
God